Decimals, Reading and Writing Decimal Numbers, with me, Catherine. What exactly is a decimal number? A decimal number, or decimal, refers to any number written in decimal notation. What? Basically, that means numbers with a period in it. For instance, 0.25, or $2.78, or even 12.8%. These are all decimal numbers. So now that we know what a decimal number is, did you know that it's related to a fraction? Yeah, a decimal number is just another way of writing a fraction. But don't worry, we're going to do that in another lesson. Before we go too far, we do have to talk about place value. And at some point, you are going to need to memorize this because we use it for rounding. And rounding is way important. First, let's look at our places. Of course, hopefully you know this is the decimal point. Numbers to the left of the decimal place are called whole numbers. Whole numbers are ones, tens, hundreds, thousands, 10,000s, 100,000s, millions. The numbers to the right of the decimal place are called decimal numbers. Tenths, hundredths, thousandths, 10,000s, 100,000s, millions. Hopefully you notice that decimal words end with the THS, tenths, hundredths, thousands, and so on. That's how we can tell the difference between a whole number and a decimal number. Once again, I want to remind everyone that you're going to need to memorize this. Even if you can use a place value chart on your test, it's super important to memorize these, especially when we start rounding and we get into upper division classes. Let's look at this example first. We're going to identify the place value of a digit. The first thing that I like to do is write my number in the place value chart, especially for those of us that aren't very good at it yet. My first question asks, well, what number or digit is in the ones place? There's my ones place, so it's the 4. What number is in the tens place? The 3. The 3 is in my tens place. What number is in the hundreds place? That's my 2. What number is in the tenths place? Notice we have a THS. That's the 8. And finally, what number is in the hundredths place? Notice it has a THS. That reminds us that this number is going to be to the right of the decimal place. And in this case, it's a 9. Now it's your turn to practice. You're going to pause the lesson, find the number in the place value, and then press play to check. All right, let's see how you did. Once again, I like to write my number in the place value chart. You don't have to, but until we get really good at it, it's a good idea. What number is in the tenths place? Notice I have a THS, so that means it's going to be after the decimal. And that's a 1. What about the 10,000s place? Notice there isn't any THS at the end. Here's my 10,000s place, and there's no number there, so I'm going to write none. Do not write 0. 0 is a number. Just write none. How about the hundredths place? Once again, I have a THS. So here it is, 2. And the ones place? Well, that's a 0. And finally, the 100,000ths place. Hopefully you notice that there is a THS there. That tells me that the number is going to be to the right of the decimal place. And that number is 7.
Now that we know how to identify the place value, let's actually read and write each decimal. It's actually pretty easy. The first thing we do is read the whole number. That's this guy. Of course, that's 12. Hopefully you remember when we were doing whole numbers, we leave the decimal point for the and. So next we'd say and. For everything after the decimal, we simply read the number after the decimal, then add the last place value. In this case, we would say 7/10. Let's put it all together, 12 and 7/10. Now you're probably wondering, where did I get the tenths from? Actually, the 7 is in the tenths column. That's how I found it. Let's look at another example. The first thing we do is read the whole number. This is 5. The decimal place is our and. Remember, we're going to read the number after the decimal and then add the last place value. For this one, we'll say 347 thousandths. Let's put it all together. We'll have 5 and 347 thousandths. Did you notice that I hyphenated 47? That's pretty important. We're still using the rules from whole numbers. How did I get thousandths? The 3 is in the tenths, the 4 is in the hundredths, and the 7 is in the thousandths place. We always add the last place value. That's how I knew it would be 347 thousandths. Let's look at our last example. Remember, the first thing we do is read the whole number. That's 23. Did you notice I hyphenated it? Pretty important. And I spelled it right. The word and is reserved for the decimal place, so we're going to put it in next. And. Finally, we're going to read the number after the decimal, then add the last place value. That means this one is 61 10,000ths. Let's put it all together. 23 and 61 10,000ths. If you're wondering how I figured out it was 10,000ths, let me show you. This is the tenths, hundredths, thousands, and then 10,000ths. Remember, the word comes from the last place value.
Here's another one for you to practice. This time, you're going to write the numbers in words. Oh my goodness. You're going to pause, write the number in words, then press play to check. Did you get 2 and 4/10ths for the first one? Cool. Remember, and is reserved for the decimal place. The next one is 6 and 52 hundredths. C is 34 and 3 hundredths. D is 367 and 826 thousandths. Finally, we had to count all those zeros. We end up with 4 and 600 thousandths. Awesome! Now it's self-quiz time. You're going to pause the lesson, answer the questions, and then press play to check. All right, let's see how you did. For number 1, what'd you get? Yeah, that's A. 2,547 10,000ths. Awesome. How did I know it was 10,000ths? I looked to the last number, and this is in the 10,000ths place, so that's how I know it's 10,000ths. What'd you get for number 2? Did you get B? Yeah, 15 and 9 thousandths. What about the last one? Did you get A again? Yup, 982 hundredths. Great. Thank you for watching. I've really enjoyed you hanging out with me, and I hope you come back again. If you're interested or you think someone might like it, pin me to Pinterest. How do I do it? I give you directions right there. Did you know that I have video guides and worksheets for all of my Pie Crustable lecture series? Yeah! You can go to Teachers Pay Teachers to pick them up. Make sure to subscribe because you don't want to miss the new videos. I love this stuff. I do it all the time. Finally, you have a request. You're not sure about something. Well, let me know at piecrustable@gmail.com or in this YouTube comment box below. Once again, thanks for hanging out with me and let me know what you think of the video.